Hello and welcome to our comprehensive guide on building your very first guitar. Today, we are taking an exciting journey from taking raw materials and turning it into a beautiful crafted instrument. This tutorial is tailored for beginners, so even if you've never set foot in a wood shop or handled a guitar before, you are in the right place. Now, what would really help is having someone here that has never built a guitar, let alone worked in a wood shop.
And that is 1000% me. Hi, I'm Kyle Smithers. I am here to ask all the dumb questions that everyone's afraid to ask. You know, I am literally a beginner. I've never done any of this before. Played guitar for 2/3 of my life. I really want to learn how to build it now.
So let's get started by exploring the essential tools and materials you'll need for this phase of the project. All right, so here's our starting point. A simple guitar body blank. Our goal is to transform this into a completed guitar body, much like this one. We'll be using a series of templates as our guides to ensure precision and ease throughout this process.
I would like to know, where do you find a template?
You can find templates all over the internet, different companies. Some will say that you kind of want to read the reviews on these because some are like traditional to the Telecaster body, and there's some that might be a variant or not as good. Now, for the guitars that we do here at Quater, I take the template and then I end up modifying and making my own. So, as a quick reference, as you can see, the where the neck goes into the body would be right here, and I have a little cutoff because that's the way I do my necks. So you can modify and make your own templates. These templates range from acrylic to wood. This is a composite material. I like it just because it's hard and it's thick, which is actually very true. And the reason why I say that, which we'll get into these tools in a second, but the router bit that flush trims has a bearing on it and it needs to ride the template. And when the template is actually thick like this, there's just more material for this. It's a little safer, let's put it that way.
All right, so for the body itself, do I have to make this or can I just buy one?
There is a video, there's a link above it in the comments, that basically show you the process on how to make a body blank out of 2 pieces of wood. This does kind of require some more machinery, like the joiner and table saw, but a lot of the sawmills and where you can buy wood in your local areas do offer those services. So you could say, hey, I would like to have ash that's, you know, so-and-so dimensions, and I like to have it jointed so that way I can glue it up, blah, 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 and then plane it down to the thickness that you want. And then you can basically, you still can follow the video on how to make your own body blank and do it that way. Or you can just buy it.
What are like dimensions that I need to know, sizes?
The ideal size for a Telecaster, you kind of want 20.5 inches by 13 3/4 is kind of like just the catch-all. This is a little bit bigger than that, by the way. More importantly, 1 3/4 inch thick. That way you have enough room for the pickups, cavities, so on and so forth.
So I don't have a wood shop. What do I do?
So to complete this phase of the build, all the tools here, aside from the template, is probably, including the router bits, because they're like 30, 40 bucks each, is probably around the $200 mark, I would say. It's essential to have some safety glasses, and it's also essential to have some kind of dust protection. You really don't want to be breathing in even microparticles of dust. You can do like the N1s or N4s, but you want to have something when you're throwing sawdust. And a jigsaw. Why I have this up here, I do have a bandsaw, but if you don't have a bandsaw, you don't even have space for a bandsaw, a jigsaw will do the trick. You just have to make sure that your blade is long enough to make it past, you know, the guitar body. And what I mean by that is when we do attach this template to this piece of wood, you will take the jigsaw and basically walk around the whole template to get it as close as you kind of can to cut the guitar out before we flush the guitar body from the template. So I guess I should do this again. What I mean by that is you have a flush trim bit that has a bearing, and this bearing is going to be following the template and then making it basically an exact replica, a copy, if you will, of the template will be your guitar. So a flush trim bit with a bearing is essential. So you can get away with like I think this is like $30 jigsaw. This router with no speed control or anything is roughly right around the same price, like 40, 50 bucks. And then, like I said, the bits are 30 or so. So what are the extra little things? Okay, I'm so glad you asked. A painter's tape. You can use double-sided tape is another option, but we use painter's tape and some CA glue. There's a trick to stick the template to the guitar body blank by using just this, and it is safe. A putty knife. I use this so when I have to get the template off the body, you want something that kind of gets in there and you can start removing the template from the body after you routed it. And that's why I have the putty knife, a nice little cool and good razor blade is necessary. Some super glue, of course. I like to have these little metal rulers. And again, like Harbor Freight has like these little things. They come in handy because this is what we're doing. We're doing little small areas. We're not measuring something from the top of a ceiling. We're literally doing, so stuff like this, measuring pickup depths really does come in handy. A black magic marker.
Wow. Wow.
So that's that. An added bonus, this is accelerator for CA glue, aka super glue. More in this in a second. Let's put it that way. So then we have our router and then various router bits. And we might as well kind of talk about this just a little bit. When you're routing into wood, the more amount you're taking off the guitar, it becomes increasingly more unsafe. In other words, you don't want to drop this in and then literally take, in this case, a 1/2 inch of material in one scoop. You're literally going down just a little bit, taking it off. So the reason why we have multiple bits is because I'll start with the smaller bit and take off a whole bunch of material. And I'll switch the bit to a deeper one and then switch to an even deeper one. And that way you're removing material in a very, very safe manner. So now that we've gone through all the things that you need to start this guitar build, I don't know, let's make a guitar.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make your first guitar.
Why am I doing the guns? I'm doing them sideways now.
Sound effects. For someone that's really never done woodworking, because trust me, I was there not too long ago, I probably would have never believed that a painter's tape and super glue was gonna keep the template to the piece of wood. It didn't make any sense to me, but guess what? It works. We're gonna have to determine what side we want. You see how it's dark, like the rings. So I typically don't, the face of it, I want it on the nicer side. It's a little hard to see, but we're gonna try to make this the center line of the template. What I usually like to do is on my template, I have a center line already down the center. I like to just kind of get it close from there to there. And then I just draw the shape out with a pencil. Kind of just shows you a little bit where the glue can go because it's where it's going to attach. We don't need super glue everywhere to hold the template down. So I'm going to designate like this area here. You want to keep that center line. So I put it just shy of the center line, a piece here, and then also right there. We drew the outline of the template and then put the tape basically in those spots. The area of the tape is where the glue is going to be to hold the template to this nice body block. We're going to put tape across the whole template, tape the whole back. I'm just going to flip this over for a nice flat edge here. So go around the contour and it just kind of comes off, right? And again, it's really just for visibility. Here's the fun part. Put some super glue onto these strips here. And then we're going to place our template like such, hopefully down the line as close as possible, just like that. And then it'll attach itself. And this is going to be the method that we're going to get the shape out of. I like these little individual ones just because it's kind of per project or per task that you're doing rather than having a larger container worth of stuff. You know what I mean? So anyway, here we go. So we can see kind of where the outline is, and then we're just going to go like this. All right, so that there. You don't want the glue to actually make it to your wood. That would be bad. Just like that. You can use accelerator, but I'll be honest with you, accelerator, which I have a can here. The accelerator makes it pretty much instant. Well, I don't want that, only because if I want to kind of get it into the hard to find seam, if there was accelerator, it would have been instant, you know what I mean? But we don't want to, just in case you can kind of scoot your template just a little bit to the right or left. But it pretty much starts setting, drying, what have you, pretty close. So I just add a little pressure onto this, and then just wait here. Like that, I guess. Yeah, this is boring. So I put a little accelerator on the spots that aren't necessary, just so you don't get on your fingers. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to remove the tape from the perimeter of the template, again, so that you can kind of see, where you're going. You don't want to have a saw and have this blue, in this case, blue tape kind of obstruct. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. We're all learning. We're all students here. If you have a better way of doing anything, let us know. The tape has been eliminated, and I didn't think about this till now, so I apologize. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a washer. When we're cutting this on the bandsaw, or this, you want to remove the material as close to the template as possible, but you don't want to ruin your template. So when you have a washer like this, you can actually draw a perimeter. Look at this guy. Right? So you can draw a perimeter. It's like a high-speed chase. We're drawing a perimeter for us to follow. It doesn't mean that you have to specifically go at the distance of the washer. It just gives you something to kind of eyeball. It gives you something to shoot for. It gives you kind of a trench that you can cut with. You can do one of these numbers. If you were to use this and you didn't have a bandsaw, you're going to want to have another piece of wood that kind of gives you the valley, you know what I mean, so that you're not tipping. It is possible. I bought a bandsaw. We're going to have our hand at the bandsaw. We're going to let you do that. Are you ready to move to the next level? Do it. All right, let's go. We're going to take our template, and Kyle is going to just kind of trim the edges off so that we just have a little bit better area to work with. You can go ahead and turn that on and just cut that side off. I'll get out of your way. All right, got it?
Yeah. Dope. Look at that. Huh?
Yes, feel the blade.
You're right.
All right, but now we're gonna get as close to that black line going around the perimeter of the guitar. We have to use the flush routing bit, and we wanna take a lot of the work out of that bit so that it doesn't have to remove a lot of material. What we're gonna do is cut this out, but before we go into that, I like to make little cuts this way so that it kind of like when you start making your way around the guitar, pieces fall off. As we're kind of cutting around, I'll have little notch cuts that I'm gonna do first that you can start removing little chunks rather than it becomes one huge long thing. You kind of want to break it up, and I think that's for safety reasons as well. So you'll be seeing a couple cuts, especially into this area. I make a whole bunch of them, so that way when you start cutting it out, they break off and you can just scoot them out of the way. All right, so here we go, we're gonna chop it up. So anyway, do you see how, what I mean? Like you make those little individual cuts so they can just kind of fall off in chunks, then safely like remove it. But for me, it's like, it feels like it's safer. So this big dip cut, I have these pieces here, but I like to do like an X. I'll cut this way and then cut this way and then try to clean up the best I can after that. That's just what I found the easiest, safe way to do that. So we'll do that right now. Too much close to the blade, so I just turn it off. Again, better be safe than sorry on that. Ah. It's like taking your bra off at the end of the night. We got the perimeter pretty well cut around. And again, this blade is made for milling. Really, I should have something thinner because you could literally go around the whole curve without doing as much cutting as I was doing before. Into individual pieces, if there's a thinner blade, you can pretty much run this all the way around and you're pretty much good to go. But that's not what happened today. This is a very important next tip. I'm about to show you how I try my best to prevent any type of tear out, especially with end grain. We're gonna move to the orbital sander. Ready? Here we go. The template here is going to give our outline for the guitar. Now we got to bring the body of the wood to that template for the shape, right? When I first started building guitars, I had something like this. It was small, but it has this bearing on it. So the bearing will follow the template and cut this flush to the template. You can see this has been used many times and there was tape on there. See what I mean? That's why we take the tape off. I've progressed from doing something with this. First of all, the bit's super small. It does work, and I still use this to do different things. Probably not the best guy for something that's this thick. So I use this bad boy. This is a little intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. This bit is a monster. It makes a lot of scary noises. I use the orbital sander and I start sanding down, especially edges and stuff like this, to where it's rounded. So when I start using that bit, it just glides like butter. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So this bit with this bearing up here is gonna follow the template and making the body flush. Now, technically, if you were to hand do this with a jigsaw, you could do it and then just kind of sand to the best of your ability and still get a pretty reasonable outcome. This gives you, it's gonna mimic the template. That's kind of what we want and what we're going for. I always sand down a start point with the bits just because when you're engaging the bit, if there's a lot of material, it can have some tear out and have some problems starting and it will ruin your day. Sanding this down and having a starting point gives us the opportunity to kind of have a really, really easy start. Again, our problem spots are going to be up here in the end grain, and we want to try to avoid that as best as possible of any kind of issue, so I rounded them off. But we're basically just going to slowly follow around the contour of this template of the body of the guitar. Kyle, I am going to get this started. We'll have you do a little bit of it just to get a feel for it, but it is pretty dangerous. This bit spins counterclockwise. We're going to kind of move it this way. Okay, so when you get this going, and it's already stationary, as you see, it could be on here, I'd say just cut from like here to here. Okay. And just kind of just want to hold it down and just go like this. It's a little intimidating, but you at least get the feel of it.
But the whole safety measure is to not let it slide.
Yeah.
So
I hold it.
Press against.
Firm press, and just, you can go real slow.
There we go.
Yeah. What do you think? All right, so I'm just gonna wrap this up. So I was standing there to try to avoid any type of tear out. There is a little bit of a part here that I did not go to the template because I didn't want to risk ruining this piece because I can just sand that down. We've made the cut all along the template. Let's go to the next phase. So this is what we're trying to get to with the, 2 routes. And we are right here. So that means that we're gonna have to route this inner portion here. But again, it's a Quater guitar thing. It's not necessarily something you have to do building a regular T. So we've came from the template and making our own templates that you can modify and add features to your guitar build. Now, I left the tape in on the inside only because I didn't want to compromise it holding this down. Technically, I could have just went around and cut this out, but you know what? It's fine, we can do that later. Later is now, how about that? So what I'm gonna do is just cut this inside tape out, just like we did on the perimeter. We are gonna set up to start the pull routing for this body. Actually, right before we get started, I like to have power near me. Now this isn't exactly the ideal place, but for purposes of filming, we'll do it this way. I always, when not using, unplug this, just because this is a dangerous piece of machinery and you just gotta respect it. So we're going to route the channel for the pickguard to fall into. And I do have an extra small specialty bit. Again, it does have that bearing down there, but to get into those tight corners, we're gonna need something that's extremely small, and that's what this is. So the first thing I'm gonna do, and how I do this, is I put the router off to the side for recording purposes. I have the bit, this is not plugged in by the way, but I can literally see how much material this is gonna take out basically beyond the template. So I want enough material that it's gonna fit the pickguard and give a little extra for any type of finish that will start to pile up so that the pickguard is flush. This area over here where the horn is doesn't have a whole lot of room for this plastic to stabilize, and I wanna limit any chance that it's gonna kind of move or divot. So what I do is I take a piece of what what Kyle just cut off, and we're going to place it as such. So it just gives us more space for this router to go and not dip down. Game on. I'm about to change the router bit, and I can't stress this enough, better safe than sorry. I unplug my router every time. So we're gonna change the router bit. This is down to the thickness that I would like to have to accommodate the aluminum pickguard, but there's these 2 very tight spaced areas that we're gonna have to get a specialty bit to be able to not only follow the template, but kind of get into those very small curves. So there we go. I'm basically gonna set this down. I'm just gonna match the depth of this new router bit to match what the depth of the old one just was. That's literally it for that. In efforts to make a line go around for the pickguard to sit on top of, I've made this template to slide into this template, like so. There we go. And now this will leave a shelf for the aluminum pickguard to eventually rest upon. So we are going to unplug, change router bits, and then basically make this cavity just about around an inch deep that'll accommodate any kind of pickup. So let's go ahead and do that. The other thing really quickly, folks, because this did actually happen to me recently, is that you really should double check on this little screw here is the method of how tight when you do this locking mechanism, how that's actually clamping, and that does come loose. So you definitely want to keep a monitor on that before before you use this, and make sure that when it locks in place and it's not loose. Okay, so because of this insert that was put in, I've got maybe a 1/4 inch route into this body, and we need to make it much deeper. So we're gonna change to a thicker bit. And that's what's nice about having angled towards you guys, but that's why I have the method of storing and putting bits. It doesn't get lost in all this. So we'll take the next bit, which gives us another about 1/4 inch, I believe, of taking material out. Safety first. So we're unplugged. We're going to change to our last router bit before we remove the template. Kind of just wrap it up a little bit for this portion. The only difference between the first one and the other two is that these are a little bit smaller. They're not as thick. Like this is a little bit thicker. When I'm in more of a production mode, I actually have the same router, and that way I don't have to keep changing bits. I just take the next router and continue on going if I want to save time. But we're doing this as somebody that's, you know, building something for the first time. You're not gonna go out and buy 13 routers, right? Not happening. Just double check, make sure it's not cutting too much. Okay, staging area. Plugging the router in. Safety. Yeah, so we're just about maybe a little over 1/2 inch, and now I have to take the template off, and it's just basically is just a putty knife. Kind of got to be a little gingerly with it because you don't want to crack or break your template. I basically just kind of scoot it into the edge, pull up a little bit, just kind of slightly, especially around these smaller areas, just be nice about it. But you really got to just take your time and pull it off, so that way you don't ruin anything. So here we go. We have the insert and we have the template off, tapes off. Now we can remove this painter's tape and CA glue, kind of making your own double-sided tape. And then you can use your putty knife to take off any kind of like little extra tape that might be on here that was a little tough getting off. So then I can just test my pickguard cut. As you can see here, then it pops right in, and it's just shy of being proud in that channel. I made center marks that kind of follows that line, so we're all good. Bam, shabam. Now we're just gonna be extending this cavity, and then we'll do the back control plate area. Here we go. We are actually at an inch, so we can stop right there. That should be plenty enough room for the pickup cavity. That's usually the depth that I go. It's just a little bit more than an inch, which is completely, totally fine. There's plenty of material still there. It's pretty thick. Now we're going to put the other template out and do the control cavity, and then we will be right where we need to be. In this step, we are going to be taking the control cavity out, basically the same method as we did on the front of this guitar. I also made this insert here that is going to give the recess of the control plate to sit on. So the very first thing we want to do is attach this with our tape and glue, and then route enough material for the aluminum pickguard to go down into recess into the body. And then we'll place this inside and get this down to about a depth of about 1 inch or so. So let's tape it up. Like we did on the first template, I like to put this in its place and then just draw a little pencil marker of where the cavity is, because there's no reason to put glue there. Since we're doing just this area, I put the tape along both sides where the control cavity is going to go, and that is it, like that. All right, that's good enough. So here we go with a little bit of glue. And I don't use the accelerator because I still would like to have a little bit of movement, if I can, to try to line this up. So that should be going good. Once again, adjust how far my bit is going down. I'm not plugged in. Okay, I have it where I want it. And again, I probably should take some measurements so I actually know exactly where I want it. However, building up finish or putting finish in dye or paint or what have you does kind of build up on the cavity. So I do try to take it down just a little bit farther, because I can always add a little bit onto that. All right, I think the tape should be good to go. So we're gonna make this first cut. Now that I have that recess in there, now we gotta basically make the shelf. So I have my insert that's going to go in, and this is going to be a guide, and then we're going to dig a little deeper. When doing this, taking the least amount of material will yield you a safer experience. So you don't want to like go down like a 1/2 inch and just think you're going to route all this stuff off. Just take a little bit at a time. Take the template off and then switch to my smallest router bit. Template's done its job. The cavity is deep enough that we can start routing just on the body and following that line and making it a little deeper. All right, I'm gonna take this bit down to as far as I can go. All right, unplug and one more bit and we will reach our depth. So this was the first board, well, guitar, before we started. And now this guitar is in the same position as the first board, with the control cavities out. The control cavity depth is not the final depth. It kind of just depends on which electronics that we're putting in, so it's gonna be top mounted. We did accomplish this goal. We'll have to take our neck pocket down to the correct depth. We still have our bridge and bridge pickup routing to do. But at this stage, I like to go right into building necks. So let's build a neck.
So we got through all that. I still have all my fingers. Mind you, I only use like one machine that you saw, so two machines. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just safety. Safety is the main concern. Remembering glasses, like I always do. And masks for dust, and just being careful with the tools. They are dangerous, and you do want to keep your money makers, as we like to call it. We believe every guitar player should build their own guitar in some capacity. You can skip some steps, such as like the body blank, and you don't have to make that yourself, so you can make a guitar a little bit faster than that. I mean, you can buy pre-cut out blanks as well, I suppose. But we'll have the whole video series and you can go through the different chapters. And when you want to do whatever portion of the build, we'll have that for you because we're doing the whole thing, start to finish. Like and subscribe for more content like this. Please let us know any tips and tricks you've learned or have any questions about anything. Or did we miss a link that we should have put a link up? Well, we're going to finish this, then we're going to start more.
You guys like to talk, let us know.
All right, thank you so much, and the next video.